Welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The food is great.
The food makes community. The food makes community.
What you eat and what you drink is your story. Well, folks, welcome to another edition of the Autistic Delicatessen. I'm your host, Larnell, along with my co-host,
Onikage?
Man, only this show is going to be very interesting. We're going to have guests on that are going to be in the mixture of food, design, as well as music related to some of the events that they're going to be doing. So should be very interesting. And plus we've kind of been down this road before in our past shows, right?
Yeah, the mixture of fusion of food and whatever medium. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this one. It's slightly different this time, more on the artsy front, but I'm excited nevertheless. So
Yes, it's still gonna have a little element of music though. Only from doing these type of shows, I feel that these are the type of conversations I really enjoy, besides the serious conversations within food, because it really delves into the theme of creativity and how food can be able to be the main focal point of telling a story in each of those mediums.
that's the thing I love about food communities the most. And even if it's not food communities, other communities in the media, creative industries, you can make a story of anything really. And it's amazing what one thing can reflect with something else. It means something. It's definitely something that needs to be looked into more. And even if it has, it's just so much fun, you know?
Because really food can be so vast. It's more than just starting a business or just cooking a recipe. It's also about how does this delve into everyday life or just different cultures, different color textures. So yeah, definitely. So you'll be seeing more of that. Today's guests are Abbey and Lish from the Taste Curators. The wife duo both create a fusion with food, fashion, and design, with Lish as the cook and Abbey as the trend forecaster. Their aim is to explore taste in food, design, and fashion, creating a varied and colorful view of the world. They are currently collaborating with Coral Chameleon with their current programs of Taste 2 and the Woven series. So Abbey and Lish, welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
I really appreciate you both because you're both artists in different ways. For you, Lish, you are a chef. And yes. You've been that way for some years. And also too, Abbey, you're known to be a trend person, a fashion trend person. And you've worked with some big people like Chanel and Jean-Paul Gaultier and all that stuff. So for people that don't know, Google them. These are not small time people. So how did the whole Taste Curators come together with both of you?
Well, I feel like it's been in the works for many years, and we've just both been busy with each of our careers, and we've always talked about trying to merge food and design and fashion together. And it's kind of, it's just been in the works for even the past 2 years. And then our careers both kind of changed a bit. We finally had the time to just push forward with it and just jump into it and start it. So it's kind of, we've always talked about our industries and what we do, and we realize there's so many similarities between the two. So yeah, we've just been an ongoing conversation, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you never really think about how much food and fashion are similar because usually they're so opposed. Everyone's like, oh, models don't eat and all this, starch.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. But when you think about it, chefs have our knives and, fashion designers have their scissors and we have our recipes and they have their patterns and the industries are very similar when it comes down to it. And on our journeys, up until now, we were on these paths and knew that they were so similar, but never had the opportunity to actually merge them. And so at this point, we were just if not now, then when? Mm-hmm. With lockdown and everything, we have to put it out there and try it because nobody else will do it for us, So
yeah,
let's do it.
We also did a photo shoot a couple of years ago that was supposed to be for a magazine in London, and it ended up not working out, which is fine because we actually had these amazing photographs, and the whole concept for the shoot was exactly what Lish said, parallels of how food and fashion are very similar. And we had a whole photo where we laid out on a table kind of from start to finish how they're similar. So we started with seeds, we had vegetable seeds and then we had cotton seeds. and just kind of kept like showing the parallels of like kind of thread was to salt, and like Lish said, like scissors and knives, you know, were similar, and just kind of had the whole progression of how they're actually similar from start to finish.
Yeah.
And so we kind of still had those photos in our back pocket, and that also we stumbled on them. We're like, this is it. This is kind of how we should launch it, by using those photos that we had.
I noticed that the food industry can be quite scary. I wonder if that's similar to like the fashion and design industry. I'm sure that's quite scary when it comes to like deadlines and stuff, and everyone's on edge. So I can imagine the parallels being there as well.
Very true. I mean,
Yes.
cutthroat in a different way, I think. I mean, with the food industry, obviously, like you're on the line, there's fire, there's sharp objects, there's all these things that are always
pans everywhere.
adding to the anxiety and the pressure and all that kind of stuff. And in fashion, I mean, it's deadlines, and as you were saying, it's cutthroat. I mean, it's kind of funny when we first started dating, and like we would go to restaurants, and you know, once somebody in the restaurant industry finds out that you're in the industry, it's like, oh, here, have an appetizer or have a cocktail or a little splash of Prosecco or something like that. And she's like, that's so different than the fashion industry, because the fashion industry is so cutthroat. It's like, no, I did this first and you did that first. And like, they don't like to share ideas, but in the hospitality industry, it's just that, it's hospitality. So like we take care of each other and we like to be a family. And, you know, in an individual restaurant, that's why you sit down for family meal. Like you're in it together and everybody is experiencing, you know, the same situations. So
yeah, I was intrigued when I met this one and learned about the restaurant industry. And at first I was scared, because the first time I met her, she had like scars on her and burns on her arms. And I was like, you got in a fight, what happened? And then I learned it was from burning herself, you know, as chefs easily do.
Accidentally.
Yes, as they do, yeah.
I could tell you that because my partner likes to cook, so all the burns, and it's just like, oh, what's happened to you? Oh, it's just burns. And it's like, yeah, I've seen him burn himself a few times. So.
I know, it's a little scary when you first learn about it. You're like, wait, what? And then you start to understand. I mean, you don't try to burn yourself.
No, you try to avoid it as much as possible, but sometimes it's inevitable.
Now, before we get to Taste 2 as well as Woven, that are both collaborations with the Coral Chameleon, congratulations are in order for you, Lish, because you just recently won an Emmy for your culinary production talents with Jata De Laurentiis for her show, Jata Entertains. So congratulations to that, though. How does it feel to work with somebody that's so well known like Jata?
So I recently left my full-time position with her after 7+ years working with her. I was her VP of Culinary Operations and Production, so I did everything from recipe development and testing to working on her shows as culinary producer. I opened all 3 restaurants with her and trained the staff, and was there like in person to make sure that it was always quality controlled. Anything that involved culinary, I was there to touch with her basically. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. She is one of the best in the biz, and she knows her brand, she knows what she wants, and she's not afraid to say it. And that's what made my job a lot easier, actually, because it was very clear cut. She's based in LA and I'm based in New York, and we were able to make it work for 7+ years, because she knew exactly what she wanted and she wasn't afraid to say it. So I learned a lot personally and professionally from her in like how to, you know, build a brand and how to stand by yourself and what you believe in and actually execute it the way that you want it done. So
nice.
Jata has been amazing. I mean, I always say I wouldn't have lasted 7 years with her if we didn't have a great relationship, and we truly, truly had that great relationship. Even stepping away from full time with her now, I still freelance with her, and like we're still friends, and I know that that will be the case moving forward because she's just good people, genuinely.
That's good to hear, though. Yeah.
Could you explain your collaborative efforts for Taste 2 and Woven?
I think, you know, we're friends with Vince, who's the founder of Coral Chameleon, and we've known him for so many years. And I think it was just it's a great time. It's also going to help propel us to honestly start Taste Curators as well, because he came to us with this project, and obviously Lish had done a version of Taste before. And when he to touch on the Woven side, you know, he was talking about how he really wanted to bring everybody together and have these, you know, we've all been participating in, you know, Zoom meetings and watching concerts or that kind of thing. But I think to have like a tangible experience is kind of a newer thing and something that's just really needed, because I think, you know, touch is so important, and just knowing that we're all connected by an object of some sort. And so he, you know, wanted to tap into my background in fashion and just design in general. And I've, you know, been able to travel around the world to so many countries and see so many artisans, and just, you know, so I wanted to kind of tap into that arena somehow. And I had a friend who's been working with a lot of artisans in Colombia. And so we just thought it could be really cool to kind of take the viewers on a design journey through music, first and foremost, and then the design components. So that's color, pattern, artisanship, and texture. So I'm working with these people who are helping me work with weavers in Colombia, and we're literally designing and weaving a piece that everybody's going to get at the end of the concert for the texture series. And they'll, you know, be able to touch the woven objects and just kind of learn this entire design journey and kind of get the result at the very end and just see it all come to life, you know. And then everybody will also have that same object to touch and hold, etc., at the very last one. So I'm excited to, it's a long journey, but I'm really excited for it, because it's just, it really gets to touch on all the design elements. And from a forecasting perspective, I usually, you know, I'm always at the start of a design concept for designers, and I don't always get to see the end result. Like, I get to put my ideas out into the world, but I don't actually always know, I don't get to actually design the full thing, if that makes sense. So it's kind of fun to actually act as designer as well, and create this fabulous object. And literally like weaving everybody together, you know, like both literally and like theoretically, you know? So it's kind of a cool thing to participate in.
It really runs parallel to what we're doing too, just with the whole fashion design and food surround us every day, no matter where you live. You know, I mean, you can be sitting on a couch, you could be sitting on a pillow or a rug, like that's your design element. We all put on some kind of garment in the morning, you know, and we all eat some kind of food, you know, if we're lucky enough and blessed enough to sustain us, you know. So that connects all of us, and we so often overlook that really that's the majority of living, you know. So we're all very similar, and we have polarized ourselves so much that we really want to start to try to pull people back together through these, you know, three elements that surround us every day. Yeah. And music is another one, and that's why this is so appealing to work with Coral Chameleon. You know, music evokes an emotion, just like when you put on your favorite T-shirt, like it makes you happy, you know, or you eat a great bowl of chicken soup and you're like, oh, this is just like my grandma used to make, or you know, you have your favorite worry stone or glass that you drink out of, and that makes you happy. It's the same, you know, situation. So to weave all of that together, pun intended, like, that's so important to us right now, to bring people together in that manner.
Because really that's kind of like what me and Oni do our show, the Autistic Delicatessen, because we've had guests in the past that have mixed in food and music together, and it's always like an interesting combination when we're able to get those type of guests, as well as with you with fashion and all that stuff, you know. So for you, Lish, how do you usually, with the different musical pieces with the Coral Chameleon, how do you find recipes to be able to make for those specific pieces?
Well, it's a very interesting journey. It's actually kind of funny because I often will have Abbey leave while I'm listening to the pieces because I just want to be by myself.
Which I respect.
So I listen to the pieces kind of over and over. Of course, like as I'm listening to them, I think of tastes and like what I'm hearing and what that actually tastes like and what that emotion evokes in me. So like the first piece already came out last month, and it was so much fun because the first musical piece from the Three Langstons, as soon as it started playing, I was like, oh my God, this is pink peppercorns. Like I just heard this floral, like spicy, just it, and I could not get rid of that. So like I knew that I had to do something with a cocktail with pink peppercorns. And then it was also earthy and herby, and you had all these like kind of smooth, soothing moments throughout the music. So I really just sit back with the music and try to let it speak to me as to what I'm tasting as I listen to it. And then I literally develop a recipe around that. Like I'm not pulling an existing recipe. I'm saying I want herbs and I want earthiness and I want salinity from anchovies and all of these things, and just make a recipe from it. Often that leads to me kind of swaying or dancing, which is why I want to be by myself, because like, you have to let it kind of take you over, in the best way possible. And that's actually what a large part of the fun of it is just letting the music like take you over and like really trying to immerse yourself in it. Sometimes it takes 2 tries. Like I'll make the dish and we'll sit down and eat it and listen to it with the music, and I'll be like, this isn't right. Nope, like I need to redo it.
She knows immediately. It's fascinating. I mean, it's kind of like watching, like I peek in, it's kind of like watching like a mad scientist and her like things together and dancing and everything, and then she'll call me in and we'll try it, and like sometimes she'll kind of tell me what you're going for, and sometimes she'll just like have me just blindly try it and see if I get the same elements, and it is interesting. Like we know immediately if it doesn't work or if it does work.
Now, Lish, if you really want to get crazy with your stuff, you should watch like my co-host Oni's STEMtastic videos on YouTube.
Yes. You're gonna have to send me the link.
Yes.
It's STEMtober, STEM dance every day for October. It's like my latest video. So
Awesome. Yeah, totally send it to me.
Yeah.
Is there cool color behind you too in those videos?
Some of them, yeah. This is like my default setup, so and it helps. So
Yeah,
totally.
but yeah, speaking of I do like the concept of you guys bringing food, design and fashion together, and like with previous guests we've had before, bringing food community together with either music or other mediums. It's just great to hear more people doing it in many various ways. And the way you're describing how music, design and food come together, it also makes me think of the process of a restaurant. Like you have to have the right textiles, and you have to have the right atmosphere, the right music, and also the right food. So it's definitely a thing that's overlooked in everyday life. So I appreciate you guys putting it more out there for other scenarios rather than just a restaurant and things like that. It could just be in your own home. So yeah, it's really cool.
I think we're trying to get people to just kind of look at the world with new eyes and new perspectives, and just realize like, yeah, you can do all these things like in your own home, or just how these things play a part in like everything you do in your world. And even like when you go to a store, you could start to recognize those elements as well, or the restaurant, but they're all such key components, and they all kind of tap into our senses, and it's just it's a beautiful thing once you realize how we're all connected that way, And I think it's more important than ever right now that we realize we are connected.
Yeah, it's so simple,
definitely.
but overlooked so often.
Yes.
And also too, Lish, on the Instagram, I think for the Taste Careers or your personal Instagram, I saw like a picture of you with a surgical mask and a rock behind it though. And you mentioned it was related to election anxiety. So of course, like when we're recording this right now, we still don't know in this country, in the US, who the president is.
Yes.
And maybe after this releases, we'll probably know who it is.
Yes.
But did some of those like creativity, like mixtures, it looked like it was in a museum. Was it just related to like the whole season of election and how like basically Americans are just going through this whole anxiety, or maybe how you and your wife have been dealing with it?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's kind of funny because we took that picture and I literally just jumped in front of the stone, and Abby took the picture, and so it looks like I'm floating and literally kind of like hanging like a skeleton. So we're like, well, it's kind of ironic for where we are kind of as a country right now, just hanging around, like ideally patiently waiting for the results and like staying calm and, being in it together and just being in the moment, not freaking out and, throwing riots or anything like that. But definitely I feel like the anxiety that's in the air right now is just intense. I mean, especially even here in New York City, like, I mean, everybody's that we've been talking to, friends and, neighbors or whatnot, we've just been eating our anxiety, basically.
Yeah. Best way.
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to like food is comforting, and food evokes an emotion, and that like makes you feel better, So, I mean, even just on election day, I mean, we made homemade French onion dip, and we roasted a chicken, and we had ice cream, and we had cocktails.
And chocolate chips even.
Yeah,
chocolate chips, yeah.
Simple things, it's like,
nothing crazy, but just a lot of it.
I'm trying to calm that anxiety, and being in it together again, like as a society, I feel like actually does join us together more. And ideally, like I said, everybody stays calm and accepts the outcome, and we can move forward as a country, hopefully more together than divided, which unfortunately has become the opposite recently. And I hope that this kind of brings it together more.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
hope so.
It is interesting though, because like I feel like the whole world is truly watching, so that's where I think when Lish talks about the energy, it's like, it's already intense here, and then it's like,
Yeah, Oni, are you watching?
Yeah.
Oh, I. Even though I'm in the UK, Scotland, I'm always online, so I see the chaos that's going on in America right now, and I feel for all you guys right now, so I just hope things do get better.
Yeah, and I think that it's a worldwide thing. I mean, people are seeing this, and as much as our country has anxiety, I feel like other countries are paying attention to it and have anxiety for us.
Totally.
To sprinkle the pandemic on top of it all.
Yeah.
Before my co-host, like Oni was talking about Brexit, so that's
God.
already so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a couple things
Pile
going
things
on
on top of each other.
This is the 2020 souffle right there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that could be a new dish list, right there. Like, yeah.
2020 is a collapsed souffle.
You're more of a crock and bush, tilted way there.
So anyway, Lish and Abbey, how should people know more about what you're doing, and of course, like these concerts coming up with Taste 2 as well as Woven, if they live in the New York area?
Yeah, well, I mean, first you can follow us on Instagram. It's at the Taste Curators. It's like _taste_curators. And you can start there to see it, because we actually don't have a website yet, but it is coming. So that's one way to just start and see what we're doing.
And then, I mean, definitely check out Coral Chameleon's website. That'll link you to Patreon to do, sign up for this series and really be a part of it and be immersed in it with us as part of the journey, and definitely participating in something that I guess normally wouldn't happen, like, because we don't always think outside the box, so this is a way of thinking outside the box, of bringing together people with tangible things, whether it's food or this object, and listening to something as one group and really bringing people together. I think it's an experience that we might not have actually been able to put together had it not been for the situations that we're in, so it's kind of cool to make something new and interesting and be a part of it from the get-go. And
well, I think like limitation always brings innovation, you know? And so when we're limited and we're stuck in our homes, like it's part of one of my trend concepts, it's just this like kind of new creative renaissance happening. We're just seeing creativity come out of all areas,
Totally. Totally. I've definitely seen more of that. It's great. As someone from the creative industries, photographer, podcaster, delicatessen, it's just amazing to see all of these projects surfacing this year, and you guys doing stuff as well. It's just great to see.
Yeah, it's fun. It's wonderful. And I mean, we'll be doing more collaborations as well with other brands, and I mean, who knows what will happen, but like we've definitely got some fun things in the works.
And we're also going to be doing some interviews and interesting stuff with makers that are local to New York. Since we can't travel right now to showcase how everyone is connected globally, like we're going to start in our own backyard. And we have an interview coming out with an Amaro maker who makes Amaro here in Brooklyn. And that's such a Italian rooted beverage, and so he's brought his Italian heritage here to Brooklyn and really has paid attention to those details. So definitely following us on Instagram, I think locally in New York will kind of showcase some new things that are going to be going on around the city and in Brooklyn, and looking at it in a different way instead of just walking on the sidewalk and looking down, time to wake up and smiling and seeing things in a different light.
Well, Lish and Abbey, we would just like to thank you both for coming on to the Autistic Delicatessen and really sharing your food as well as your designs with us, and really wish you the best with these 2 shows coming up with Taste 2 as well as with Woven with the Coral Chameleon.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. What you guys are doing is awesome as well. So keep it up. Cool. And seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that.
Of course,
Thank you.
of course. You're doing great things. You're doing great things. Hold on to that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Autistic Delicatessen. If you want to know more about our past shows, both on our YouTube as well as our podcast, please go on to the autisticdelicatessen.card.co. It's right at the bottom for you to see.
If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe to this YouTube. Until next time.
What you eat and what you drink is your story.